So this is how it started. Oh, the unburrowing is an attack. But this is how it's going. Oh yes, level 76, Uber Duriel. Hello, my fellow sorcerers. It's a bit good being in the conversation for best class in the game with access to the most powerful build, isn't it? And you might be like, wait, really? And, yeah, I cannot believe the difference between Season 1 and 2. I don't mean the fact that Season 2 is actually fun and Season 1 was like watching a picture of grass growing dry while someone was scratching their nails on a chalkboard. I mean the difference in the power of Sorcerer and what we can do. Now, it might not be like crazy insane to be beating Uber Duriel at level 76 with unoptimized gear, though it's certainly pretty damn good. The fact that it's even possible for a class that, until this season, was, let's be honest, struggling to make a claim for maybe 4th out of the 5 is so, well, the only way to put it is vindication! Hey, real payoff for sticking with it through 4 months of hell, and not the hell you're supposed to be going through in Diablo. And more than anything, I just want to talk about it. You guys know that I absolutely adore this class. I've stuck with it through thick and thin, and I will always be here, well, pushing it as far forward as I can with builds. And indeed, the build that is beating Duriel so easily so soon is one that will be coming literally tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. It is a massively improved, min-maxed, changed version of the build I released a couple days ago, and is just definitively not only the best way to play Sorcerer, but as I said, in the running for just the strongest build across the classes, so I really am excited to share that with you. Including, yes, the rest of the Paragon board, which I know you guys have been heavily requesting. For now then though, I just want to talk about that it's actually fun being a Sorcerer in Diablo now. That's crazy to, like, wow, we did it, team. We actually did it. Well, I suppose we didn't do it. Blizzard finally did some basic features and fixing that should always have been a part of both the game and the class. After the awful decisions made early on, the slow changes and buffs to the Sorceress skills and aspects and some of their mechanics have finally sort of reached critical mass thanks to the addition of the seasonal mechanics. So why exactly is Sorcerer proving to be so strong? That is the question that I want to sort of examine, because it still has a ways to go. There are a lot of uniques that we don't have yet, that haven't dropped yet, that we can improve the builds with even further, and we might actually end up in a situation where your sort of endgame properly as best as it can get builds are going to end up with like 5, maybe even 6 uniques on them, which is absolutely bonkers to me, but also kind of exciting and a nice little goal to work/grind towards. I can't speak for how the game will feel in a week when we're sort of level 80, level 90, we've done all of the new stuff, we're basically just pushing nightmare dungeons and chain grinding Duriel for maybe a uber unique as often as possible, but at least right now there is enjoyment to be had both in general and specifically relevant to today, Sorcerer. I think that right now, Diablo 4 is in the best state that it's ever been, and while I do suspect that the literal true end game, as I say, 90 plus towards 100 and then being at 100, is going to still feel a bit dry and lacking, the journey there is actually content rich, and for the most part, that content is compelling. the unique bosses tying into all the main activities, and then those main activities being actually made rewarding is a really satisfying loop, and I've not felt myself actually grinding XP for the sake of XP once, and I'm nearly level 80. I've just been doing stuff to get the things that I want, and the levels have been coming naturally, which is exactly how it should be. Why it took this long to figure that out, I don't know, but credit where it's due at the very least. Now, this obviously sounds very general and not sorcery, but the bosses is kind of the thing. The bosses is what really inspired me to push the min-maxing of Sorcerer this season, as I wanted something that could absolutely annihilate them as early as possible. And I identified the build I thought would be able to do that before the season launched, but I never quite suspected just how devastating it would end up. I rated it much more highly than most other people did. I really thought it would be up there and ultra competitive, but the fact it's proving to be arguably the best is both wonderful and surprising. In any case then, what is actually going on? Well, firstly, let's talk living. We actually can do that now. Obviously, you know, you're not straight up immortal, things can and will still kill you, as you have been seeing, but that's when you're doing extremely challenging content relative to your level and gear. But that's a normal thing and not like something that needs addressing. What did need addressing and what has been addressed is resistances, of course. You know how nice it is to be able to look at this and be like, wow, I can actually survive attacks coming from here? You mean I can meet a flame-enchanted elite and not get one-shot from full health through a barrier by accidentally standing in one wave of fire in the middle of a cluster screen of 100 enemies all pouring effects on me? Amazing! It is undeniably, you know, shocking that a class whose one of their main strengths is just having this huge surge of resist from their main stat actually having that working suddenly makes them feel so much better and tankier to play. Like, the Sorcerer themselves is covered in these resist element nodes, and actually making them valuable is so good. The same with being able to actually take something like Potent Warding, because working it is a potent passive, and it makes things just feel a lot more intuitive and, more importantly, fun. You really can just stand in things and you don't get punished with instant death if you didn't notice a skeleton crossbow a mile across the room and you don't get punished with instant death for daring to tinily clip one little attack that wouldn't have even phased the other classes. So that is really nice. It is refreshing, it is something to be aware of, and you really can push it just that little bit more. And then on top of that, a few of the older changes that did help us out have all come together and really reached, as I said, critical mass. But offensively is really where it's kind of got silly, and actually the offensive increase is also helping us defensively in a really potent feedback loop that is the reason that Sorcerer is proving to be so absurd right now. See, before the season started, I identified what I thought would be a combination of vampiric powers and the build to absolutely abuse them to the maximum. Vampiric powers, then, is very much the true source of this sudden resurgence and rise to the top of Sorcerer, because while they are all for all classes, they very much do benefit certain classes and certain builds more than others, depending on the power. And for Sorceress specifically, given that we have a build all around attacking as fast as possible to make a big deal attack be off cooldown as often as possible, when you put in a power that makes that ultimate have a 20% more CDR, when you put in a power that is ungodly amounts of free attack speed, when you put in a power that makes the basic attack we're spamming reduce the cooldown of said ultimate we want all of the time, and then we add even more attack speed and damage to that basic attack, this core 4 of Ravenous, Moonrise, Hectic, and Anticipation, uniquely to Sorcerer and specifically our clash, is absolutely busted. The synergy between them and the core concept of this build is out of this world. And it results in all of the ridiculousness that you have seen, and it results in Duriel at 76, etc, etc. Now, it's not what Sorcerers have got to level 100 for the level 100 race with. That is tending to be Firewall, as it's just a reliable, good leveling build, and you don't really need to think about it, and you can just focus on XP. But in terms of power, this is unrivaled. And the main reason it's unrivaled is not necessarily Unstable Currents or Arc Lash, it is Ball Lightning. This thing just does so much damage, so being able to produce it in the most efficient and mass way possible is going to be so good. And while you will see a lot of pure Ball Lightning builds go around where they've actually put it on their bars, that's just not the best way to do it. It really isn't. You lose a lot of both utility and tankiness that doing the Arc Lash version gives you at only the cost of about 10% damage potential, which is just not a worthwhile trade. But however you achieve a bajillion Ball Lightnings going round you, powered by the gravitational, that when it got buffed to deal more damage instead of less, you just end up in this silly situation where it might even be a little bit overtuned, but thankfully they have said that nerfs are not going to be a thing, at least not for a long while. We are allowed to actually, you know, have fun with powerful stuff, and that's really, really nice. But the main deal is that Ball Lightning all cares about your attack speed, because its damage rate is increased by 200% of your attack speed bonus, and we have that insane attack speed bonus from Ravenous and Moonrise. Yeah, it has just kind of reached this point where it is more potent than it was ever intended to be. So ultimately, it is just the pure, simple synergy of certain particularly good for us vampiric powers, coupled with the slow, steady buffing of Sorcerer, coupled with us actually being able to survive now thanks to basic game fixes. They've all merged together, and the whole is so much greater than the sum of its parts that no one could have seen it coming. I knew for a fact that Sorcerer was going to be in the top tier of builds and classes. I absolutely did. But the fact that it is perhaps the top of that top tier is amazing to me, and it's really nice that people are starting to see it. But more than anything, I don't want to get bogged down in too much mechanical build specificness, because I will go over all of that in depth tomorrow when I bring you the full updated min-maxed build guide of what is going on here, why it works so much, why it not only destroys everything, but why it makes you nigh unkillable in the process, and that is something the pure Ball Lightning version just can't do, make you unkillable. And that's something I'm really proud of, and can't wait to show you the synergy that I have cooked up. In any case then, yeah, the bottom line here is that Sorcerer is good now. We are fast, we are fun, we clear at insane speeds, we pump out ridiculous, comfy damage while not having to be terrified of every explosion and every enemy with a big boom attack. It's never been a better time to play Diablo 4 and specifically play Sorcerer, and I am really looking forward to just bringing you everything Sorcerer over the coming weeks, and well, perhaps even beyond that, as we see how long the season does hold. I really hope it does hold for a long while, as I say, I am actually having a blast. I can't believe just how good this Diablo 4 beta really is. So I would love to ask you guys, how are you feeling when it comes to Sorcerer? And indeed your other classes, if you're playing them instead and still listening to this, which I really appreciate. How are you feeling power-wise? Because I think the Vampiric powers do just make builds come online much earlier. Even without min-max gear or uniques, they're just strong enough that you can slap in the right ones with the right skill loadout and do really well. And that's another reason Sorcerer has been proving so good, as it does come online so early, just because of, as I said, that pure synergy between powers and skills without gear even getting involved. And that's something that I'm really, really chuffed about. So, with that all said then, I will see you very, very soon for more awesomeness. And until then, like you've enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more. Consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below. And until we meet again, a good
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.